writing down the ballot numbers and the last names of the person of the ballot that had the name on the ballot. They were all in sequence. These are absentee ballots, mail-in ballots. They cannot be in sequence. 2232 cannot have 2233 next to it, because if they're mailed in, they come in all different numbers. And when I started noticing that these numbers are almost next to each other, like one or the other was in the middle, but then they were almost next to each other, my antennas went up. That's exactly when I thought something is not right here. Then I asked the supervisor. There was not even a date on those envelopes. It said November 0-2020. There was no second number there. Then I said, what is the date on this one? Then they got really mad at me. They said, you're not letting us do our job. You're disturbing us. And at that point, because we really don't want to be kicked out, so we were just kind of not challenging anything because we want to still stay in the room because we barely had anybody. Not only that, the sequence ballot numbers were all from the same area, like the Goddard Street in the downtown Detroit. Goddard Street, sequential ballots, signatures were all alike. They had no date stamp. It said, it was empty after 0. There was no third or second or first or nothing. And none of them were coming up in the system. They were all being entered manually. They even knew that none of these details would even be in the poll book or in the system.
Hey, welcome back. Thanks so much for joining me. Got a great show for you today. Breaking news on the entire election fraud 2020 election issues front. There was a press conference given in Georgia where a group of data nerds, they literally call themselves the data nerds, have been working on researching everything that happened in Fulton County in the 2020 election. And they have some, shocking results. You've got to see this. So let's dive into this press conference. We'll comment as we go, but I want you to see this from the beginning. Let's go.
Thank you for covering us, those that are here. The Georgia Nerds are a group of data analysts that work for free across the state. We have a data warehouse of 10 years of voter rolls, multiple election files, and we compare those and find crimes that are being committed against we the people. We're tired of being told we don't know what we're talking about. Go to Twitter at @TheGeorgiaNerds_real. We post evidence multiple times a week. We promise to show you the fraud. When we say we're showing you the fraud, we're literally screen clipping out of the Secretary of State files. So buckle up, it's happening. All right, so this year, the nerds have analyzed our two primaries, the presidential primary and the May primary. They are a hot mess. They're so bad, we have the wrong people running for elections in November. This is serious, but it's also nothing has changed. We started our journey in 2020 and saw criminal patterns. When crimes are not checked, crimes are committed over and over again. It's becoming easier for us because we take the same patterns we saw in 2020 and apply them to new elections. Nothing has changed. The 2024 primaries are ugly. I encourage you to go to Twitter and see the evidence for yourself. It's in all 159 counties. We like to pick on Fulton. They're low-hanging fruit. But what we found, it is in all the small counties as well, and many times the county official has no idea this is going on their dime. We have identity theft being committed against us Georgians via our own government. Did you hear me? The duplicate IDs that are being created are most of the time, 90% of the time, is coming from the Department of Driver Services. It's so bad this year, duplicate IDs are being reissued for 1 month and then they get dropped off again. Well, what are those duplicates doing? They are double voting. Double voting in the last 2 elections are huge. Not only are they double voting them, they are taking that duplicate and voting you, and then you're over here voting, and then they swap them. So you thought you voted for Mickey Mouse, but really the record probably shows someone else. So we're seeing swap votes. We're also seeing the pattern of early voting and you're not in the absentee file. Well, that doesn't make sense. If you voted early, absentee, early in person, electronic, you should be in that file. But we're seeing vote credits without being in the file. And oh, by the way, we've recently caught the Secretary of State cooking the books on the 2020 absentee file to fill in the gaps of the crimes that he committed then. The crimes are unchecked. But what's really disturbing is today we heard a lot about machines counting our votes. No. How does a dead person that's been dead for 19 years show up in the file with vote credit as early in-person voting? How does that happen? Only via a machine. How does a reg ID, which is everybody's got at least once, how does it show up and vote when they're not on the voter roll? Not on the voter roll. Only a machine can do that. We saw over 2,000 in 2020, and we see them all over the place in the primary. Another disturbing pattern that we've seen, it is a federal law. You cannot mess with the official list of electors of who's qualified to vote in this state by a certain date. Are y'all with me? So we have backdated registrations to where reg IDs are voting as if they were registered in time, but they didn't exist at that time. You can't see that unless you have multiple voter rolls. They are packing our voter rolls. Some are same-day voting. We have the receipts. Our felons, their identity continues to be stolen. We're seeing patterns of what they do to their fake address while they're sitting in jail. The Department of Driver Services is moving them between counties, but they're in a jail over here. If you don't believe me, you can watch some of those videos that we publish. It is a fact. Why are they stealing the identity of our felons? Because they can't vote. They're not looking to see if anybody voted on them. We must fight for those felons. We must fight for the deceased. If your loved one died in this state 20 years ago, they may be dropping that reg ID in for a vote this year. It's crimes against we the people. Okay, so who are they targeting? People that can't vote, aren't allowed to vote, are unlikely to vote, or have moved out of state and they don't know they're voting. We have those too. All right.
Wow. So before we're going to keep going, but just to recap, wow, amazing stuff. They are swapping votes. So you thought you voted for Trump. Oh, no, they counted your vote for Biden. Oh, and then they're double counting. So actually you thought you voted for Trump. You might have voted for Biden twice, according to the actual Georgia election tally. They are ballot harvesting dead people, felons in prison. This is all illegal. This is all criminal stuff. We're going to have numbers after the fact after we watch the full video. But this is just, and this is a bunch of data nerds. So they've got the actual screenshots from the Secretary of State database. Rathesberger has some serious explaining to do. So does Kemp, because they've maintained over and over again that none of this is true, but it is all true, and they have the receipts, and it's in their face. And we have to make sure that this does not happen in 2024. We have to have an army of people that are going to guard against this. Because if we lose our right to vote, if we lose our one person, one vote electoral system, then we don't have a country anymore. all we have is a tyranny. We have a dictatorship, and we cannot let that happen. Let's go.
So, where am I? I didn't even need my notes. I'm on a roll. We recently learned about illegals registered to vote and planning to vote. It is no surprise. And people think they're going to be in line with a bunch of illegals and they need a sign at the precinct. I've got news for y'all. They drop those IDs in for a vote and the person's not even there, so y'all all need to wake up on the reality of that. There are major criminal patterns in our elections. We've tracked it since 2020. The Secretary of State continues to say we have the cleanest voter rolls in America. A lie told 1,000 times is still a lie.
But unfortunately, according to Goebbels from good old Nazi Germany, if you tell a lie long enough and loud enough, it's true, it may still be a lie, but there are the useful idiots out there who will believe it. And that's what you've got 50% of this country. You got basically almost every Democrat voter wrapped up in that there was no election fraud, when in fact there was. They're just being gaslit, just like Goebbels said.
Most of this machine orientation, the counties have no idea. It's not about cleaning voter rolls. The thing's not even on the voter roll when it votes. How can you clean something that's not even there? I would like to tell Governor Kemp, you know about the fraud. You've been given evidence of a lot of the election fraud. You've been given evidence of the 2020 audit that never occurred, and you've done nothing. I request that you do your job. Georgia is officially in a state of emergency. Any person that thinks we're going to have a different result in 2024 than we did in 2020 is smoking something. It is the same criminal pattern over the last 4 years. And everyone needs to understand how it's being done. We also call on Governor Kemp and the State Election Board to ask for the resignation of Brad Raffensperger. There needs to be a criminal investigation into the crimes against we the people of Georgia. It's also a violation of 18 U.S. 1031 major crimes against the United States of America. I'm done. Follow us. If you don't believe us, let us show you the crimes. And you too will understand what is truly going on in our state. God bless Georgia, and God bless these United States of America.
Wow. Okay. Diving into this exact thing. So let me do this. I want you to see some of the numbers that they came up with. This is from their post. Georgia Election Board confirms beyond a shadow of a doubt. And I'm going to link to the Georgia Data Nerds or the Georgia Nerds in the show description, so you can actually go check out their website and look at all the data. Fulton County was the epicenter, although it spread to almost every county in Georgia. No verified signatures on 148,000 ballots. Now remember that Georgia was decided by just, I want to say it was 40,000 votes or less. Fulton County counted 17,000 ballots with no images. They inserted and counted 20,000 ballots from the original count tabulator without tabulator tapes. Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss double scanned ballots. Fannie Willis was in fact double scanned to the Fulton County District Attorney's Office. So you've got double vote counting and double scanning going on down ballot as well. They counted 3,930 duplicates and inserted the certified count via human intervention. That's the predicate for election fraud. This wasn't just machine done, although there's a bunch of that, but it was also done by human intervention. The duplication of ballots was not a mere administrative error, but rather duplication process was due to intentional human intervention, meaning that Georgia violated federal and Georgia election laws. Kemp and Raffensperger need to be held to account. And frankly, there needs to be an apology issued to Donald Trump. Unfortunately, I don't know, you can't go back and undo the 4 years of destruction wrought by Biden. but this is how bad it is. So you've got this going on in Georgia. Think about it in Pennsylvania, in Michigan, with similar vote fraud. Arizona, we have got to prevent this from happening in 2024. So with that said, they've gone through and they're finding even the same level of fraud in the primaries. Now, not that the primary matters, seeing that the Democrats essentially wiped out the primary through blackmailed Joe Biden off the ballot in a palace coup and installed Kamala Harris. So they really don't care about primaries anyway. But the fact that they saw the same trends and the same patterns in the primary is extremely telling. We have got to prevent this from happening. Courageous Army, we've got to get out there and we've got to fight. To prevent this from happening, we got to donate, because Laura Trump has already said, as part of the DNC, they're going to mobilize an army of 500,000 poll watchers and auditors to try to prevent this from happening in 2024, or at least minimize it. We've got to help that effort, and we've got to get out into the arena of ideas and fight like mad. We've got to work like it depends on us and like we're 10 points down. And we've got to pray like it depends on God, because ultimately he is the one that's going to set all things right, because God is good and he is sovereign. This will all be good in the end. Hey, please, before we go, smash that like button, subscribe. Let us know how we're doing in the comments. Let me know what you think about this. And also, if you could, please, if you're willing to support us financially, please jump in as a partner with us on YouTube so that we can bring you more content and even go deeper. And if not, if you can't do that financially, please become part of our core team. Like, watch, comment on, and share all the videos as they pop up with notifications. Thank you so much, Courageous Army. You guys are the best. Fantastic audience. Love you all. And remember, he is good and he is sovereign. It'll all be good in the end. It's not yet good. It's not yet the end. Till I catch you next time.